LAP family. It's your boy LAPA coming through with another video. You guys already know what it is. Appreciate you guys tapping in, taking time out of your day to stop by, check out this video. Please hit that like, hit the subscribe. It does help me out a lot. And even if you don't like it, that's all good. So as you guys know, man, I'm trying to kick the stories for the youngsters, reoffenders, so that the former doesn't get into the lifestyle and the latter does not go back into the lifestyle, right? As you can tell by the good old caption, that thumbnail, Paisa, Sureño, and a Norteño, Mac Reps, get into it at New Corcoran. So I recently dropped a video as far as the Corcoran riot, Father's Day Massacre, as they dubbed it, where, every yard kicked it off. Every yard, upper yard, lower yard, and every block that had Norteños in them on C-section, they kicked it off. I mentioned this, like I said, I mentioned the part where I was supposed to go on that and blast the llavero there, but it ended up happening on the weekend. I was A2B. I couldn't go out. So my celly from Florencia ended up taking up the reins on that jale with the homie from Southgate, and the rest is history. So there's about 4 to 5 different incidents that transpired and at this moment before I left, and then I'll touch on whatever happened after I was gone that I ended up hearing and things like that, including a couple murders that the Norteños had on the Sureños. And one thing I want to emphasize is that if you're new to my channel and you just watch this video or any given video, understand that I'm not just telling stories where the Sureños got over on the Norteños. I've told stories where the Norteños got over on the Sureños as well. I'm an ex-Sureño, whatnot. And I just want to emphasize that, because I get a lot of dudes in my comments, and I appreciate the comments, man. Don't ever be afraid to come on my comments. I respect the comments and everything. I am very hands-on with the comments. Don't ever feel like you can't drop a comment because I'm going to disrespect you or anything like that. You're more than welcome, man. If anything, any comment is welcome. Even if you don't like me, it's all good. Just don't complain about me responding to you if you respond in a certain way. I'm just gonna respond in kind. I'm gonna match your energy. So here we go, man. So the Mac Reps used to go around during the lockdown and talk to our other gente. They were on shackled up, whatnot, and Paisas, Sureños, and Norteños were the ones that really Mac Reps used to get let out for the most part, because those were the factions that were beefing it. The Paisas were allied with the Sureños. As far as the blacks and the whites, yeah, from time to time we would see the blacks and the white Mac Reps coming around and things like that. But it was usually, for the most part, it used to be just 3 factions that I mentioned. So they used to go from block to block. Any block that had Norteños in it, the Norteño Mac Rep would go in there with the Sureño and the Paisa. But any block that didn't have a Norteño in it, the Norteño would stay out. When this first kicked off, we had Norteños in the bottom tier and in the top tier. Eventually, they ended up moving all the Norteños to 6 block and 8 block, from what I remember. Because there were in every other block, 2 block, 4 block, 6 block, 8 block. And they ended up moving all of them just to 2 blocks. But like I said, the Mac Reps, we used to still see them. Not me, but like the blocks. So Camel from Santa Anita, from the city of Santa Ana. That's where I'm from. That's my city, Santa Ana. And this Paisa named Iceman used to always come around. Hey, come on, how you doing? Hometown, this and that. Me and Camel, like, we were acquainted and everything, because when I first landed right there in the BMU block and things like that, he knew me and everything. He was sold up with one of my homies from my neighborhood where I grew up. And then I ended up going down to 4 block eventually. So every time he come down, he stop by. He'll stop by in every Sureño cell, but like, that's to the extent that I knew him. He wasn't with that set trip and shit. Favoring Orange County or Santa Ana, things like, or what I'm saying, like things like that. And so, but like I said, my point is I was acquainted with them. But he always stopped by and shows respect. You know, Santa Anita, Delhi, and Logan are three old ass neighborhoods. Logan being the longest neighborhood, Santa Anita, and then Delhi. Old neighborhoods, nonetheless. You know, it's not a competition. I'm just saying. So it took about a year and some change, about a year and a couple of months. Incidents kept happening. They could never really truly get to the first phase of unlocking everybody. Because the first phase would have been letting out the Mac reps. After letting out the Mac reps, they were let out. How they were doing it with it unlocked by ages. They would start at 45, 40, and down. They would let out dudes that were 45 and up, 40 years and up in the next week, 35, then 30, 25, 20. We all knew that it was never going to get past the first phase. But while I was there, it wasn't until right before I left, and that's another story for a different time, that I got coming. We haven't even got, it was a year and a couple months, and we still weren't even at the phase of just letting the Mac reps come out, one Norteño, one Sureño, and one Paisa without shackles. They were letting them out to come and talk to us, but with shackles on, meaning they couldn't do nothing. And at the time, the policy was, even though, I mean, I would have to refer you to the story. I'm going to retell that story, man. I got a bunch of views on my channel, but the story that happened with the Sureño, with the 30 Sureños and the one Norteño, that Norteño violated the rules, and he attacked Sureños in the tank with handcuffs on, and that changed the policy. Because we were not going to have kicking matches unless you could get at a Norteño. And from what we understood, I mean, we thought that policy was the same. But unless you could get at a Norteño without handcuffs, get off your handcuffs to handle business. But until then, we're not going to have kicking matches, embarrassing ourselves and doing shit like that if we're handcuffed, right? But because of that incident that I'm not talking about right now, prior in medical, they pretty much green-lighted everything. If you see a Norteño, whatnot, handle business. But the Mac reps were given different directives because, you know, we're trying to get off lockdown so we could get to these cats. And I'm pretty sure that we're trying to get off lockdown to get at us as well. So it took a year and a couple months. Finally, after all these incidents, finally, we heard word that they were going to let the Norteño Mac rep, Sureño Mac rep, and Paisa Mac rep get off of lockdown, let them walk, no shackles or nothing. That was going to be the first phase, the first step on its way to peace, on the way to the age unlock. So this is what ended up happening. Finally, man, the block of these cats ran A block from what I believe, because that's where Camayo was at. I believe he was still there. Iceman was there, whatnot. They call him out to the rotunda. They call all three of them out to the rotunda. Now, they let out Iceman and Camel first, and cuffed him, whatnot. And then the Norteño came, boom. They uncuffed him, whatnot, boom. And then it was on. It was on. The first chance that the Paisa and the Sureño got, they jumped on this cat. They jumped on him, boom, 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 sliced him up. Sliced them up, boom, 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 boom. And the crazy part is, I have mentioned on one of my videos, is that we don't slice up our own camaradas. That's considered, we consider only like J-Cats and things like that, the J-Cat video that I did. And that's not to say that Norteños are J-Cats or pieces of, you know what, please do not misunderstand me. That's a policy that we have within our own reglas. But in this case, the reason why I feel that they used razor blades was because they were scrutinized so much that they were going to be strict. They got strip search, squatted cough, wanted metal detector, everything. There was just no way the Mac rep's going to be able to come out there with a fierro whatsoever. So what do? They had razor blades in their mouth probably. And one razor blade is not going to, uh, tip off the wands. It's aluminum, damn near, So that's what happened, man. He came out, boom, and man, they sliced him up. They sliced him up bad, man. And I give it to that Norteño because he went out there. He knew exactly what was gonna happen. Now I didn't hear decided whether he rushed him or not, or I don't know. I never heard that part. I heard about other Norteños handling the business and all that. I'm not trying to downplay this dude or not. My guess would be that, yeah, he tried to fight back, but he had two dudes on him quick. Boom, boom, boom. And the cops were ready for it. And they let it happen. They let it happen. They let it go on long enough for them to see some action. And eventually, they stopped it. By the time it was said and done, this Norteño had slices all over his face, from what I heard. And the cages, homies that were passing by the cages, when he got to the hole, this dude had slices all over his face. And it's to me, it's just like, damn, bro, like the cost of war. This is the cost of war. And because of this incident, after all the other incidents, the Norteños ended up getting off of lockdown because, it was 2 against 1 and they took off. So there was something similar to like the Pleasant Valley stories told. I shared it with you guys. Whoever the aggressor was going to stay on lockdown. And since obviously a Sureño and a Paisa were the aggressors, clearly Norteños ended up getting off lockdown and we were on lockdown in perpetuity. There was no end in sight, and I was there, and I just remember thinking like, damn, I was hoping maybe our block would be let off of lockdown because, a year and some change, never leaving the cell for nothing. Hey, I'd rather go out there and see some action at the time, At least I go to the hole, go to the back again, and get some cage yard, commiserate with the camaradas, whatnot, everybody, But at least I'll have movement and out back there working out with the homies. We have some social, exposure. But being back in the blocks and everything, yeah, we had our TVs and all that. But you need a change of scenery from time to time. And when you're just sitting there stagnant, you want something different, right? So yeah, unfortunately, that's just what happened, man. I'm gonna drop another one with the Mac rep, and ultimately when the Norteño, when we ended up getting off lockdown after I left with the Norteños, of that one, and then after I left, there's a couple more stories on this that I want to share. And that war at that time was crazy, and it all kicked off because of murders, and this is crazy. With that being said, thank you guys for tapping in. Appreciate you guys. Drop a comment, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one, man. But youngsters, remember, man, these are the stories of caution. You don't never want to be caught up in this.